Hello, world. It's time for the Dopamine Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Sean David Cohen, and today's hot topic, AI doctors. This is the ultimate symbiosis of mind and body, where we promote and protect the holy grail of brain juice, the elixir of life, dopamine. Welcome to the Holistic Living Network, an entire network dedicated to holistic living, the best kind, high frequency living, no negative vibes, no stupidity, just research, intelligence, high cognition. Turn on the ignition to high cognition and don't turn it off. Yes, we are resilient, persistent, dedicated, fortified. AI doctors, artificial intelligence doctors. It's like the Terminators coming for you to treat you at the hospital, at the clinic, at the doc in the box. Never, ever in history has it been more important to live a holistic lifestyle than right now. Okay, I'm going to dial this back quickly, folks. Let's just dial it back about 120 years when the AMA and the FDA decided to end all nutritional information and education for the doctors in medical school. Okay, they wiped it out. They were like, no more. It's just chemical medicine. If it's not made in a lab, it's not approved. It won't be reviewed, peer reviewed. You know, the same sayings going on today. This saying has not been evaluated by the FDA. Why not? Why aren't you looking into natural remedies? Why aren't you evaluating the power of natural foods, natural medicine, herbal medicine? Why not? Because there's no money in it. So you had that happening, and then you had World War II, and you had all of the processed food. We started processing all the food in factories. Then we had laboratories. We hired Hitler's scientists to work on food additives and pesticides to pollute the food and pollute the crops. Okay? All the scientists that he was using, Project Paperclip, yeah, the tribunal. If you don't know about that, the Nuremberg trials, these guys got out in 2 to 5 years out of prison, and they got out, and the U.S. hired them. Bayer hired them. Everybody hired them. NASA hired scientists for rockets. They all hired them, and then they figured out how to pollute the food and the medical industry even more. And then we had the vaccine era with Jonas Salk coming in, inventing the polio vaccine, the holy grail of medicine that got polluted with mercury and aluminum and polysorbate 80 and MSG and genetically modified organisms and viruses that have been manipulated in labs, crazy wild pig viruses put in children's vaccines that don't even belong in there. It's insane. Then the 1980s, they designed genetically modified organisms in food, right? So the food got really bastardized, and they're covering it with the pesticides that don't kill the crops because the crops contain the pesticides that they're spraying them with in the genetic makeup. So you got GMOs, that's still going on big time with the corn, the soy, the canola, all that stuff, right? Then you got all the petroleum products, all the petroleum-based products, all the artificial dyes and the artificial the artificial flavorings, and then you got bleach and ammonia in the foods. Now you got antibiotics and hormones and all the CAFO animals. It is just insane, right? This onslaught. And now you've got artificial intelligence. And guess where? Guess where it's rooting in the most insidious way? In medical schools. So when COVID hit and we went virtual on almost everything, we went virtual on all the learning. Everybody was working from home and taking classes from home, including college. And all the medical doctors now who are training, the students, who are training to be medical doctors, they're writing papers. They're doing research and writing papers and theses and everything using AI, artificial intelligence. Lawyers are doing it too, and they're getting busted in court. The judges are like, that wasn't a case. That's not the proper citing from a case. They're not even doing the homework. Just run it through AI and bring it into court. Bring it in, turn it into your professor at the medical college. Here, I read the 7 books you told me to read last month, and here's my 3 papers. Done. Grammar checked and everything. And then some of them come back, and the professors figure it out. They're like, you didn't write this. There's problems all throughout it. There's hallucinations, they call it. Chat GPT. Just total nonsensical hallucinations, incorrect nonsense that's published. It appears to be factual. It's presented as fact, despite appearing confident and coherent. There's total globs of research that are fabricated. They're written using algorithms. So the algorithms can spit out whoever wrote the algorithms can design them to spit out whatever they want. Think about that. So big pharma, let's say I invented a heart medication that doesn't work, okay? And I want to sell it for a lot of money. I can have a paper about heart disease. I can have the algorithm in the computer system, in the artificial intelligence system, the large language models, LLMs they call them, I can have it write according to the fake facts, the fake science about that heart medication, so that every doctor who writes about heart disease finds that research and their paper is based on it and leads the doctors to prescribe that kind of medicine. See where this is going? So it's money-based. Just like NIH funded all of the gain-of-function research for COVID. Their big pharma is funding the people who run the algorithms for artificial intelligence for the medical industry. Have no doubt about it. That's the biggest money on planet Earth is pharma money. And they're designing the algorithms for ChatGPT and all the other most popular, most used artificial intelligence hubs right now for medical schools and hospitals and for the diagnostic equipment that's deciding what's wrong with you when you go in for the diagnostic test. So AI, this is what's currently being used in the healthcare system, okay? I got about 8 bullet points that what they're using right now with AI in hospitals, in healthcare. So they're diagnosing patients. They're using AI algorithms to analyze medical images like x-rays and MRIs and CAT scans, PET scans, all of it to aid in diagnosis. So let's say the nurses that are supposed to read that or the doctors are goofing off. They go out drinking or they're smoking their cigarettes during break because you know they do. They're outside wasting time. They're burnt out. They're overworked. They're like, did you look at Johnson's x-rays? No, not yet. Well, we got to get to it. We're supposed to do surgery in an hour. Helen, did you look at Johnson's x-rays? No. I ran them through AI. We got to look at what it says. Okay, hurry up. Grab that. Let's look at it. This is what's going on, folks. And they grab it and they look at it. And AI says, there's a gray spot. There's a gray spot. It looks like cancer in the brain or the lung the left lung. We need to operate. That's what AI says. And guess what they do? They do what AI says because they didn't have time, because they didn't make time, because they relied on a system that's flawed and that's written by Big Pharma. Essentially, AI is doing what pharma tells it to do, and the doctors are just doing what they're told to do by the hospital administrators, and they're just doing what they researched in medical school. If they're coming out in the past 5 to 7 years, if they're coming out of medical school, they're just following what they learned. Yeah, I learned that. Okay, yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I know that procedure. I wrote a paper in medical school on that exact procedure. Yeah, but you wrote it based on hallucinations that AI had when it was doing the research, fabrications, complete nonsense, incorrect information that was stated and presented as fact, as scientific fact based on peer-reviewed research. This is what's going on. This is why it's so important to live holistically, because if you can avoid going to the hospital, and I'm not saying that it's all bad, okay? If I get some horrible infection or break my leg or, if something horrible happens, I'm going to the hospital. Don't get me wrong, okay? I'm not going to sit at home and put a big piece of wood on it and wrap it with some duct tape, all right? I'm going to the hospital. If you're having a baby, go to the hospital. But if you don't have to go, if you can avoid it by using preventative medicine and smarts, okay, Mother Nature, you better do it. Okay, Mother Nature first. This is not the last order of business here. Holistic living is your first order of business. Do not rely on AI. Transcribing medical documents, AI is being used. Automated speech recognition, ASR, converts spoken language into text for medical records. So say a doctor already knows exactly the correct way, the correct protocol for healing some injury or addressing some kind of viral infection, okay? And they know. Let's say they're the old school doctors. The doctor's 50, 60 years old, knows exactly what to do, and he's speaking it to be recorded for some literature for the hospital's protocol, okay? They bring him in because he's so experienced, and they're like, hey, man, we're having a lot of medical errors. We need you to come in here and rewrite some of this protocol, this healthcare protocol. So he speaks it, and now it was correct, except for AI converts it for the medical records incorrectly. And who's checking it? Who's going through all of it? If he talks for 7 hours, who's going through all of that to see if what he said was transcribed properly? Nobody. It's just done. It's done. One person may read it over at the end, if you're lucky, and catch something. The administrative efficiency is leading to diagnostic errors, billing errors, scheduling errors, diagnostic reports that are incorrect. They're speeding up. See, they're speeding up because it's efficient. They're saving money by having AI analyze patient data, diagnostics, medical imagery. So they're looking at the x-rays using AI, and they're streamlining workflows. Okay, so all the repetitive tasks, all the things that everybody has to do over and over and over, AI is doing it now. It's good and it's bad. It's freeing up the professionals to focus on patient care. So maybe they come into your room at the hospital more often and visit you and check on you. And you're like, wow, this is really good service. I appreciate it. And they're good people. The nurses, the doctors, they mean well. but they're getting bad information. Artificial intelligence, not real. The AI is not a person who really cares about you ethically, morally. They're not going to do what's ethical or moral. They're not going to make a critical decision based on common sense and foresight and hindsight and all of the judgments that we have to make on the spot. Okay, a lot of critical judgments we make are based on several things, all kinds of stuff. History, what's happening now, what could happen. We got to balance a lot, okay? Humans are super intelligent, especially these people who go through medical school. These are some of the smartest people in the world. And now, more and more, they're relying on artificial intelligence. Now, here comes the future potential of AI. Here it comes. Enhanced patient engagement. AI tools like chatbots can provide 24/7 support and personalized information. So now you're getting more personalized information based on your history, your biology, your genetics. But we already have a lot of misinformation coming from the healthcare industry based on genetics, because they like to say that almost all of your illnesses are genetic, so that you believe you can't fix them and you can only get medicine to treat what's wrong, even though most illnesses, most diseases and disorders are preventable and curable. Okay? So what am I talking about? I'm talking about cancer, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, obesity, dementia, the big five. Okay, those barely existed in America 100 years ago. Barely existed. That's why they're all preventable. If they were genetic, they would have all been here when everybody came here. Okay, think about it. The statistics. All of those issues would have been here prominent when everyone came to America, but they weren't, because all of the processed foods didn't exist in Europe, where most of us came from. Asia, South America. Nobody had all these factories processing food. They weren't designing vaccines with all of these crazy adulterated toxins. These neurotoxins weren't in vaccines, including mercury, which the CDC has finally admitted is poisonous in the vaccines, and they're going to take it out. That's new news. Yep, they finally, too much pressure from Truth Media. They finally had to admit it, and RFK Jr. put the pressure on them, and they're removing mercury because it's still in a bunch of vaccines. It's in the multi-dose flu shot. It's in some of the Tdap vaccines. Yep, so they're pulling it, okay? So common sense is ruling in certain arenas, but AI is dominating more and more in healthcare. Now they're using AI to accelerate drug development. So they already have a fast track. The FDA has a fast track for drugs, which means if you pay them enough money, if a big pharma conglomerate pays them enough money, they'll fast track a drug, which means they don't run tests. There's no clinical trials. There's no long-term testing for, health carnage. None of it. They're just like, look, man, we want to sell this now. We want to sell this right now. Have you tested it? No. Well, that's going to be $5 million. Wait a second. What? Okay, here's $20 million. Shut up. That's what lobbying is. Lobbying in this country is legal. You're allowed, as a politician who writes legislation, right, for hospitals, for healthcare, as a politician who writes that legislation and helps get it approved, you're allowed to sit down to go to dinner with a big pharma CEO or a big pharma rep and talk about what they are inventing and what they've invented and what they're selling, the equipment and the drugs. And then they can hand you millions of dollars. Here, this is for your campaign so you can get reelected. Now pass some legislation so I can get this product, this service sold in all the hospitals across the country. It's that simple. Pay to play. Reduced medical errors. AI can help streamline administrative tasks and improve decision making and reduce errors. While it's creating errors, they're talking about reducing errors. So maybe they're reducing some using AI because there's some human error going on. And then they're creating new errors while they're erasing some. Wow. Lower healthcare costs. Sure. Now, if they used AI to help diagnose and research the proper things, if they would use it for holistic purposes, let's say to research your dopamine levels, to research what foods boost dopamine levels, what foods help your kidneys and your liver function on all cylinders, function at high capacity all the time. What chemicals hinder those organs from functioning high capacity all the time? Use AI for that. If they would use AI for the proper protocol, we would all benefit from it. And then you need humans checking the results and maybe running them back through another system to see if there's a bunch of hallucinations and fabricated information there. That's where the money should be going, the funding and the research. NIH. NIH only funds pharma agenda. Strictly, 100%. If you want to get money, trust me, I applied for funds to research natural remedy products. You will not get approved. NIH only funds what pharma instructs them to fund. You got to be $1 billion or $1 trillion business to get NIH funding. Here comes some drawbacks and more concerns about AI coming at us full steam. You've got job displacement. So the automation can potentially lead to job losses in some areas. You have a skill shift. So healthcare professionals need to acquire new skills to work with the AI systems. They got to be trained to work with these systems. A lot of people are afraid of technology and they're frustrated. So they'll drop out or they'll lose their jobs in the healthcare industry. There's over-reliance on AI, like I was talking about. The dependence on AI could potentially diminish critical thinking skills and clinical judgment. So now the people that were using critical thinking skills and judgment don't need to as often. So they're letting that go to the wayside. It's fallen to the wayside. And we're relying on robots, the Terminators that are programmed by pharma. The end game is already decided. If they decide that COVID-19 is the deadliest virus in the world, if AI decides that, then that's what you get. That's what the hospitals function under. That's what the doctors have to function under. Oh my God, he's got COVID. Put him on a respirator right now and give him remdesivir. Well, remdesivir was a kidney destroyer, and they knew it. The higher-ups knew it. Fauci knew it. And they put a bunch of people on remdesivir, and their kidneys failed, and they died in the hospital. They didn't die from COVID. They died with COVID. Remember that? The hospitals got more money by marking it up, died with COVID. They didn't have to say, they didn't have to lie outright. See, it was a convoluted lie. Died with COVID. Oh, yeah, because they didn't want to lie. The hospital administrators were like, he didn't die of COVID. He was on his last leg of cancer. He already had stage 4 liver cancer. Yeah, but we tested him with the PCR test for COVID, and he had COVID, so we're going to say he died of COVID. No, we're not. We're going to say he died with COVID. But he may not have even had COVID because the PCR test tested positive 75% of the time, even if you only had a bacterial infection, which you could have gotten from the mask, from wearing the mask. You got a bacterial infection, you go to the hospital, you're stage 4 cancer, and you die with COVID, even though you didn't have COVID. And AI tells them, hey, put them on a respirator, which kills you. The respirators killed 75% of people that go on respirators died within 3 to 4 days because of the inflammation was already there in their lungs, and then the respirator makes the inflammation way worse. It was insane. So that's all. Now it's going to all be AI decided. AI gets to decide what your treatment is and why, while it hallucinates like it's on LSD. And the medical students are coming out of college writing papers, but using AI instead of doing the homework and doing the research and actually coming out with the knowledge base that they need to treat you in a hospital or in a doctor's office. Now it's all AI. A lot of it. It's unreal. They've got health and wellness apps that are using AI. They've got education apps using AI and writing assistants using AI in these large language models. And it's spitting out a bunch of errors. AI doctors, artificial intelligence doctors. Unbelievable. You know what? I got 2 things to say. One, the dopamine revolution was not written with AI, okay? This is critical research. The Dopamine Revolution on Amazon. Check out the book. And the other thing I need to say is, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in to the Holistic News Network, the holistic evolution of medicine, the evolution of holistic care and living clean, eating organic food, whole food, unprocessed food, taking nature's supplements, and thinking critically all day without artificial intelligence. Okay, that's it, folks. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Over and out.